What if Japan never attacked Pearl Harbor? Picture the same quiet Sunday morning over Oahu, clear skies, the soft rumble of golf carts, sailors laughing on deck, and then nothing. No dive bombers, no explosions, no column of smoke darkening the island, just waves brushing the hulls of anchored battleships. One decision not made, one trigger not pulled, and the 20th century veers off its tracks. Let's anchor ourselves in what really happened. December 7, 1941. Japan launched a surprise strike to neutralize the U.S. Pacific Fleet and buy time to seize the oil and rubber of Southeast Asia. They moved in a sweeping arc: Malaya, Hong Kong, the Philippines, Wake, Guam, and Pearl Harbor. The whole chessboard flipped at once. In Washington, Franklin Roosevelt addressed a stunned nation. Congress declared war. Hitler, in a fateful miscalculation, declared war on the United States days later. The sleeping giant woke, and once America's industry and manpower entered the ring, the Axis trajectory bent toward defeat. Midway, Guadalcanal, the Atlantic convoys, North Africa, Italy, D-Day, the bomb. But suspend that explosion in time. Imagine Tokyo's war planners, the same men who debated North versus South, Siberia versus the Indies, choose the southward advance without touching American territory. No torpedoes in Pearl Harbor, no bombs over the Philippines, no declaration of war on the United States. Could they do it? Yes, if they strike British Malaya, Singapore, and the Dutch East Indies while carefully avoiding American bases and flags. The goal is oil, Indonesia's black lifeblood, without rousing the industrial colossus across the Pacific. It's a razor-thin bet: crush Europe's Asian colonies while America stays officially neutral. In this alternate December, British pickets still scan gray seas for Japanese silhouettes. The British Empire is overstretched, defending Egypt from Rommel, guarding the skies over the Isles, maintaining lifelines across the Atlantic. Without Pearl Harbor's shock, America's public remains deeply divided. Isolationist voices in Congress still boom. Roosevelt pushes lend-lease to keep Britain and the USSR afloat, but sending American sons to die in another foreign war? That's a far steeper hill without the smoking ruins of Battleship Row on the front page. Japan moves fast and brutal. Malaya's coastlines echo with landings. Singapore, the supposed Gibraltar of the East, teeters and falls. Dutch oil fields blaze and then churn under new management. Tokyo installs puppet regimes, wraps the occupation in anti-colonial banners, Asia for Asians, and starts loading tankers. But every victory draws a line on the map and a timer in Washington. The U.S. Navy watches with clenched teeth. American destroyers shadow convoys in the Atlantic. In the Pacific, carriers remain intact, duel-ready, but off-stage. FDR's circle quietly hopes for a bridge. Embargoes, pressure, diplomacy that holds the line long enough for public opinion to move. Without the shock of Pearl Harbor, that shift is slow, hesitant, noisy. What about Germany? Hitler squints across the ocean, and this time keeps his mouth shut. No declaration of war on the United States. He doubles down in the east. The Wehrmacht drives toward the Caucasus oil, toward Stalingrad, toward something like inevitability, until Russian winter and Soviet grit bare their teeth. Britain fights on, alone but not entirely alone. Lend-lease trucks roll to Murmansk through blizzards and U-boats. Hurricanes fly by the grace of American factories. But there are no U.S. divisions preparing for North Africa. No torch, no Sicily on the calendar. The Atlantic darkens. Without formal U.S. entry, convoys are fewer, escorts thinner. The Battle of the Atlantic tilts harder toward the wolf packs. German U-boats, daring and deadly, wolf down tonnage at a rate that makes British planners stare at charts in white-faced silence. America can supply weapons and food, but metal must cross the sea, and the sea bleeds. Meanwhile, in Asia, the map ossifies under Japanese boots. Burma Road strangled. Chinese armies already exhausted face a relentless occupier. U.S. aid still trickles to Chiang Kai-shek. But there are no island-hopping Marines cutting Japanese supply arteries, no carrier duels grinding down the Imperial Navy. Japan doesn't need a knockout. It needs time. Time to entrench, to install collaborators, to turn resource streams into steel, bullets, and bread. Is this stable? Not really. It's a held breath. Washington, 1942. Roosevelt remains the master of the slow squeeze. Embargoes on oil, steel, machine tools. Quiet naval incidents multiply. A submarine too close, a plane too far east. But each brush is walled off. No escalations. Newspapers argue like a national family dinner gone sour. Interventionists plead that fascism must be defeated on both oceans. Isolationists fire back. Europe's war is Europe's responsibility, and Asia's empires are collapsing under their own weight. Why waste American lives to save British colonies? And the war's true center of gravity. It's still the Soviet Union. Factories in the Urals thunder. T-34s roll off lines like loaves of bread. Soviet soldiers push west, meter by meter, at a cost that staggers the mind. Without a US-led second front, without torch-pulling German divisions south, the Eastern Front remains a grinding, endless set of battles. But Germany is finite. Oil is finite. Morale is finite. Even without Americans landing in Morocco, the Red Army's tide rises. Now imagine the fork in late 1942. In our timeline, El Alamein and Stalingrad break the Axis spine. Here, El Alamein can still be a British victory, Montgomery's artillery still speaks, but exploitation is thinner, slower. Without US forces in North Africa, there's no quick collapse in Tunisia. Rommel's retreat is a long, angry shadow, not a rout. In Asia, Japan reaches for India's doorstep. Burma becomes a green hell. With no American bomber fleets ravaging Japanese industry and no submarine campaign choking shipping, Tokyo isn't invincible, but it isn't shrinking. The occupation grows a nasty bureaucracy. Ration cards in Jakarta, propaganda parades in Saigon, informants in Rangoon. Resistance flickers. So does collaboration. Anti-colonial leaders, some with sincere ideals, others with sharp knives, bet on Tokyo's promise to smash European rule. Their gamble will haunt the post-war world. And the bomb? In our world, the Manhattan Project roared to life under wartime urgency. In this world without formal war, the project lumbers, whispered budgets, cautious committees, fewer laboratories and full war sprint. Fear of a German bomb exists, but political oxygen is scarce. Don't expect Trinity in 1945. Expect science to crouch in the shadows, slower, a year here, a year there, perhaps revealing itself only when another power forces the race. By 1943, the balance starts to look like a three-way stare. Block 1, the Soviet Union, bleeding but ascending, pushing into Eastern Europe with a vengeance that history perfectly understands. Block 2, Imperial Japan, sitting on Southeast Asia's resources and northern China's cities, trying to digest an empire it grabbed too fast. Block 3, the Western Hemisphere, United States and its neighbors, bristling with industry, money, and caution. Arsenal? Yes. Army in Europe and the Pacific? Officially no. How does that end? Not quickly, not heroically, not neatly. Picture spring 1944. The Red Army has shattered Army Group South, claws deep into Poland, teeth set toward the Balkans. London hears the thunder and sees the map twisting. Churchill pleads for more, louder, earlier. Roosevelt sends ships and guns, but not troops. The US Navy hunts U-boats harder now, still in a gray zone of incidents and escort missions. But the legal fig leaf remains. In Berlin, reality fractures. Without a Western invasion, Hitler can shift divisions east, but they're mauled anyway. The Luftwaffe gasps under British bombing alone, less devastating than combined USAAF RAF, but unrelenting. Oil runs short, lies run long. The end is coming, just on a different road. And when it comes, it's Soviet columns in Paris, or at least at its door. Yes, Paris. Think about it. With no Normandy, with Britain lacking partners for a cross-channel invasion, the Soviets are the only hammer heavy enough to smash the Reich entirely. They push through Vienna, crush Prague, and keep going, into a France racked by occupation, underground communists ready to emerge, and a population that just wants the war to end. Maybe Paris negotiates a liberation committee that tilts left. Maybe outright Soviet-backed governments rise across the continent. The map of Europe doesn't split down the Elbe, it bleeds red to the Atlantic. Where does that leave Britain? Alone on its island, fiercely independent, outnumbered by ideology, clutching the Royal Navy like a shield. No Marshall Plan, no GIs in pubs, financially exhausted, politically cornered. The empire crumbles faster, not slower. India's independence accelerates, not under the glow of post-war democracy, but under the shadow of a Soviet-dominated continent and a Japanese-held Asia. The sun doesn't set gently, it falls behind clouds. Quick pause at the halfway mark. Which single decision in this timeline do you think changes the map most? Japan's restraint, Hitler's silence, or America's hesitation? Drop your take in the comments. And if you're into deep cinematic what-ifs like this, tap like and subscribe so you don't miss the next map-bending twist. Now, the ripple hits the Pacific again. Japan's empire is big, but it's brittle. It never solved its truest problem, not conquest, but consolidation. Local populations want independence, not a new master. Guerrillas learn fast. Malaria doesn't care about flags. So Japan builds railways and police forces. It trains militias. It stages parades. It hopes time will turn occupation into legitimacy. Sometimes it almost works. Often it does not. China remains the bleeding wound. The KMT and CCP fight a civil war inside a foreign war. Without American carrier raids or B-29 firestorms stripping Japan's industrial skin, Tokyo can keep a chokehold on China's coast and resources. The fighting staggers on. The communists grow stronger in the countryside. The nationalists rot in corruption and fatigue. When Berlin finally falls to the red tide, Moscow's gaze shifts east. Does the Soviet Union honor its neutrality with Japan? Maybe for a year, maybe not. A victorious Red Army, swollen with tanks and seasoned officers, looks at Manchuria and sees unfinished business. Nuclear weapons arrive later and from a different direction. No Trinity in 1945. No mushroom clouds over Japan. Instead, the first nuclear blast could be Soviet. Berlin's scientists, V-2 engineers, and captured reactors feeding a program that detonates in the late 1940s or early 1950s. Imagine the first atomic ripples not beginning a Pax Americana, but announcing a Eurasian colossus. In Washington, that sound changes everything. Congress, so wary for so long, suddenly sees a world where the Atlantic is a moat not wide enough. And now picture the Cold War that follows. Not a bipolar duel, but a tripolar standoff. The Soviet Union dominates Europe. Japan dominates East and Southeast Asia. The United States dominates the Western Hemisphere and watches both oceans like a dragon coiled on a mountain. Embargoes harden into walls. Spy games multiply. Proxy wars pop like brush fires. Indonesia's independence becomes a knife fight among three patrons. Korea's fate isn't a north-south split, but a tug-of-war between Tokyo-backed generals, Moscow-backed revolutionaries, and American money trying to keep the peninsula from catching fire. Economics shift in strange ways. Without American bombing and invasion, Japan's wartime industrial base never gets annihilated and rebuilt. It ossifies under militarist management, efficient at making rifles and ships, terrible at consumer goods. The miracle of post-war Japanese electronics never arrives, or arrives from a different Japan entirely after a long internal reckoning. Europe's boom never happens under a Marshall Plan. No highways, fewer refrigerators, more ration cards. Britain staggers, then reforms. France rediscovers its soul under a cloud of ideology. Germany doesn't split, it disappears into a larger red machine. And the United States, it's rich, it's armed, it's restless. Without the GI Bill surge, suburbanization looks different, slower, patchier. Civil rights still fight upward, but the moral clarity of crushing Nazism is missing from the national myth, replaced by a colder, cautious pride. We outlasted. We supplied, we survived. American culture still radiates out, jazz, cinema, advertising, but the heroic arc is subdued, more noir than bright technicolor. Could this equilibrium hold? Probably not. A three-block world is unstable by nature. Every border is a bargaining chip, every revolution a bidding war. Sooner or later, one block overreaches. Maybe it's Japan, bleeding from 10,000 cuts in Burma and Java, facing strikes at home and whispers in the officer corps. Maybe it's the Soviet Union, tempted to grab Turkey or Norway or a British port to complete the encirclement. Maybe it's the United States, finally deciding that offshore balancing isn't enough in a nuclear age. There are other quieter consequences too. Science moves differently. Without wartime crash programs, jets, rockets, radar, and computing progress in uneven bursts. The first satellites, possibly Soviet, launched to a red Europe's applause while America scrambles a response. The moon landing? A delayed dream, claimed not as a global victory lap after fascism's defeat, but as a tense flag plant on behalf of a world split three ways, each side squinting through the void at the others. And what of morality? In our timeline, the war against fascism forged a powerful narrative. The alliance of democracies and a brutal but necessary partner in Stalin's Russia, winning then parting ways. In this world, victory lacks a shared chorus. Europe's liberation looks like replacement, Asia's freedom looks like a trade, and America's righteousness looks like restraint that came too late for too many. Let's rewind once more to that Sunday morning in Hawaii. The ship's intact, the pilot's idle, the ocean innocent. That silence is a fork in the road. One version of history explodes into sacrifice, alliance, and a two-block Cold War. The other congeals into an uneasy standoff, an empire in Asia that lasts longer and costs more. A Europe swallowed by a single iron ideology, a United States wealthy but hesitant until the bomb and the map force a choice. All from one choice not made, one attack never launched, one nation not yet awake. History hides these trapdoors in plain sight. A single hinge swings and the door opens to a different house. If Japan never attacked Pearl Harbor, the world might not be safer. It might only be slower, colder, and split into three. And that's the haunting lesson. The loudest days are easy to mark. The quiet ones, the ones where nothing happens, those are the days that change everything.